We're on.
All right. Hi, Lydia.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Doing great.
Okay.
Doing great.
So we've been talking for a while about forbearances, and we wanted to get this video put out there. And I think we're going to do it on a regular basis, just updating everybody on what the forbearance numbers are and that kind of thing. So just for people on my page, I want them to know who you are. You are Sarah Perkins with Lawyer's Title, and you are exceptional when it comes to economic information, and you're just a wealth of information. That's why I enjoy talking to you. And you've been on my podcast before, which I've done. But today we're talking all about forbearances. And for those people that don't know what a forbearance is, forbearance basically is kind of like a loan modification. And it started mainly when COVID hit, and the government wanted to help out families that had lost jobs. So it really was originally for those people who had lost their job due to COVID. And as time went on, many people did it that maybe didn't lose their jobs and thought that they could have a few months of like not having to make a house payment. But nobody really, they put this out, but nobody really knew what the terms that were and what the conditions are. Forbearances are an agreement between the lender or servicer and the homeowner, and they don't really get recorded through title, correct?
Nope. Very rarely are they even recorded, and that's one of the things that makes it a lot harder as we do our research up ahead of time to find out if they have it. It's really about these conversations.
Right. And so as things have gone on, we've noticed more and more people are doing forbearances. And for those people that don't know, I also work with a servicing company, which what they do is they, once a home gets foreclosed on, then they give it to me and I put it on the market. And what I've noticed over the last month, I'll say, I have gotten more and more inspections to do. And these are potentially people that could go into foreclosure. Doesn't mean they're going to, but it's definitely a potential issue. What's different now than say 10, 15, 12 years ago when in Arizona was the fact that, the homes that knew they were going into foreclosure, they quit watering their front yards and the landscaping was going, the house wasn't maintained. What I am finding now with these inspections that I'm doing is basically that the homes are in pristine condition. So landscaping still being done. A lot of them are home now because they're working from home, but they aren't aware there potentially could be an issue later on. And the potential really is more for the fact that some of the forbearances, the money is due right up front. So some of those that are 3 to 6 months, they're on month 4 if it's a 3-month forbearance, and month 7 if it's a 6-month forbearance. They have to pay all those months up front unless you negotiated with your lender to put it on the back end. Now I'm hearing a lot of people are doing 12 months forbearance, and many of those have been put on the back end, but it's still good to know what you're getting yourself into ahead of time, right?
Yes. And there are multiple programs, just like what you said, Lydia, is there's multiple for not only in timelines, but types of options for forbearance. So that's another, there's a lot of pieces to it.
Right. So, you have some great information about some of these forbearances. I only have it from the end of what I'm getting as far as the servicing is concerned. So I am getting some inspections that potentially could go into forbearance or foreclosure at some point. So tell us what information you have as far as forbearances.
Absolutely. Thank you. I will. And one of the things I wanted to just mention as she talked about, the servicing is you're consistently getting requests. So it's not, just one and done. You've had a couple. So it's not insignificant. It's a small number. So we're not looking at that flood, but it's something that it's a good conversation to have. So that is
they're definitely trickling in.
Yes. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just talking about what's going on. What does that mean? What are we looking at? These are national numbers, so you always do want to look at the specific market. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my screen share real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. But one of the first things that I want to go into as we start talking about forbearance and everything that's happening within real estate. And I actually got to do a shout out for Keeping Current Matters, and David Childers just put together a fantastic webinar all about, kind of where we are, right now. And I know they're offering a big discount on their program. So we're happy to share that discount if you have questions and want to learn more about Keeping Current Matters. But what this chart is showing us is the NAR or National Association of Realtors has been tracking our recovery, our housing market recovery. And pre-pandemic, we were at 106.5, and this is going to be a combination of, supply, demand, price, and the time on market. And so at the beginning, before, pre-pandemic, we were at 106.5. Not surprisingly, our demand did drop, but look, we do see, evidence of a sloppy V-shaped recovery, and we are actually exceeding the where we were in the housing market pre-pandemic. Our activity levels have fully recovered and then some. So this is pretty powerful within real estate because there is so much activity. And with the activity really has been the supply and demand are driving prices up because there is not a huge supply. So as we're looking at what's going to be the outcome, we know there's a lot of activity in the real estate market. So by having, by knowing that there's so much happening, it could potentially, it will give us added protection to keep our scenario of today different than what we saw 10 years ago, as a lot of people have questioned. Now, yes, we do have some significant headwinds, and one of those would be, our unemployment rate. And as we look at here, these unemployment rates, we were, pre-pandemic, 3.5%. March did move up, and then boom, 14.7%. That was scary. So now as we look at what's been happening, we have been trending down on our unemployment rates. That is a good benefit to us as we are really looking at, hopefully this number will continue to go down, but that is why people are saying, okay, we need to have some protections for these homeowners who are negatively affected by COVID-19.
Yeah.
So as we're looking at it, I'm going to hop through, and we're not going to address every slide. I mean, this is one that we were comparing on unemployment comparison to as the process, because people initially were like, oh no, it's the Great Depression. No, it's not. It's not even a little bit. We have blown past it with our recovery in that employment, but we're not out of the woods yet. One of the things that is important, though, to continue looking at is that rate of forbearance. Early on, the projection is that we were going to hit about 30% of loans would be in forbearance. That was the projection.
Yep.
Fortunately, we never got that high. We did start off, I think we were around 8-9%. Today, we're at about 3.8 million loans are in forbearance. I've heard some that are even saying 3.6 million. So it has dropped further. That's a little over 7% of all mortgages. We know that the majority of the mortgages that are in forbearance are FHA. And FHA, about 10 to 12% of the loans that are in forbearance are FHA, and that's the largest pool, I guess is what I was trying to say. What we know of this is that with it trailing off, we hope it continues to do so as different homeowners are in different, in positions. They figure out what their options are, go back to work, whatever we can do here. So this is on the improving lines. We also know that about 25% of the people that are in forbearance are still current on their mortgages. And then going kind of even deeper into that as we look at where, that here, I'm going to go ahead and kind of stop the share. But as we are looking at, with a lot of people who are making their payments, a lot of people have equity. Equity
Right.
is a really, really big factor in here. And the chief economist at First American was talking about there are two things you need for foreclosures. You
Okay.
need negative, kind of a negative economic trigger like loss of employment, but you also need to be in a negative equity or a zero equity position. The benefit that we have going into this right now is Americans have more equity today than, like, I can't say ever before, but in a
Right.
really, really, really
Right.
long time. 42% of all American households are paid off. They're free and clear. So we know they're not going to foreclosure.
Right.
90% of American households have at least 10% equity. So at least there's going to be a little bit of a buffer if there needs to be a sale. And when
Right.
you think about what the average equity is, the average American has $177,000 in equity. So even, if they are in that tight pickle, they can't make their payments anymore, they can still sell it and get out of it and be in a traditional type sale. It's not, then it would not be what is like, the foreclosures and short sales that we saw 10 years ago. We are in a much better position. We just don't know how many or what we're going to be looking at
Right.
for those, what's going to happen next. And that's why we want to have these conversations.
Right. And looking down the road too, I was just talking this morning to one of my lenders, Matt Merritt, who gave me some information on, I believe it was the FHA, which I had forwarded to you. And basically, for those people who need to sell their home to get out of that forbearance situation and want to buy maybe a less expensive home or a smaller home or even upsize, whatever, because they're working from home now, they have to realize that they need 3 consecutive on-time payments after their forbearance, or they cannot get a loan. That is something that is in the guidelines. And he's going to get me, obviously, more information as it comes out. But we've been hearing that for a while now. And it's just good to know. You have to look 3, 4, 5 steps down the road. Okay, if I sell my house today, which will sell really fast because we don't have a lot of inventory in Arizona either, will they be able to buy a home, or do they need to maybe rent for a short time, or maybe not put it on the market quite yet and wait till they have those 3 months that they've gone through? So it's really important to work with a lender and a real estate agent and a title company that understands forbearances and what some of those rules are and what some of those regulations are, because we don't want to put anybody on the street. We don't want to sell their home and get to a point where they can't buy a home for 3 months. So there are some strategic things that we could do as well if we know all of this up front. And so I think having this conversation with you on a regular basis, Sarah, is really important for people to understand, what are their options if they did get into a forbearance. If they're at a point where they're still not employed and they can't make that payment, what does that look like too? So
Yes.
Yeah, there's just a lot of good information. So I think we're going to do this on a regular basis to try to keep up with, because as you said, we're not going to see a ton of foreclosures right up front like we did 10, 12 years ago. It's going to be a little trickling effect, because that's exactly how my inspections are going. I'm getting a couple each day. One day I think I got 5 a couple of weeks ago, but then each day I've only gotten 1 or 2. So they're coming, but they're coming at a slower rate. And hopefully those people can get out of their homes without having to go through the foreclosure.
Yes, and that keeps their credit in check and everything there too. And that's exactly, I've got this great quote by a reporter from Bankrate that did say, don't expect a flood, expect a trickle.
Yep. And that's what I'm seeing too. So we'll do this again. We'll get a specific time down and we'll market it so everybody can see what's going on, so that they can tune in on a weekly basis. But so if somebody wants a personal equity assessment report, that is something that we can put together for you, Sarah, or I can put together for you, and basically tell you how much equity you have in your home. If you have your last bank statement from your loan, we can have title look into that and get a real good idea as to how much equity is actually there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we're happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Sarah. And we'll get another time for this, and we'll get more updates each week as they come.
Definitely. Sounds
Okay.
great. Well, thanks, Lydia.
Thank you, Sarah.
We'll
Take
see
care.
you later.
Okay, bye-bye.